Today's episode of the Bill Simmons Podcast on the Ringer Podcast Network. Brought to you by ZipRecruiter. You know what's not smart? Trading Kyrie Irving for a bunch of 11th men and the 8th pick in June's draft. That's not smart. You know what is smart? Hiring with ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter's powerful technology scans thousands of resumes to find people with the right experience for your job. It even learns what kind of candidates you like and invites more to apply. It's so effective that 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. My listeners can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/BS. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Meanwhile, SeatGeek, the best app for buying and selling tickets to sporting events, concerts, and more. For $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase on any game or sporting event, to the NHL, baseball, the NBA Finals, possibly in Boston, whatever. Use promo code BS. It's super easy. Download the SeatGeek app or go right to SeatGeek.com. We launched our new music podcast yesterday. It's called On Shuffle. It is hosted by Micah Peters. They talk about a whole bunch of things. They argue about stuff. The Korean Iverson, Donnie Kwok, came on yesterday to argue with Micah Peters about some rapper that is he even a rapper? What's that guy? Malone?
Post Malone?
Post Malone.
He's got an interesting story, that one.
There's already a backlash to Post Malone, and he hasn't even blown up yet. Lindsay Zoladz also wrote about him today. The mailman, Post Malone. But yeah, they argued about him. Korean Iverson was all fired up about it. Check that out. On Shuffle, subscribe now. And also, we should mention the Ringer NBA show. We did a live Ringer lottery show last night, before, during, after the lottery, and then we cut some snippets from that. We put that on the Ringer NBA podcast, which has been blowing up thanks to the efforts of John Gonzalez, Chris Vernon, Kevin O'Connor, Jonathan Sharks, a whole bunch of people. It's been blowing up. People like the Ringer NBA show. So anyway, if you wanted to hear that thing or some more stuff we have coming, including tonight's group chat after Rockets Warriors, check that out as well. And don't forget to check out theringer.com, where we have a whole bunch of stories. I'm going to the site right now. I'll tell you what's on there. Okay, so we have Justin Vera and LeBron James. 4 lessons from the NBA lottery. Big feature about Annika Sorenstam. The new girl, which is gone. I mean, yeah. John Gonzalez and the Sixers Celtics. All that stuff. Fantastic. Check out theringer.com. Coming up, we're going to talk to my dad. We're going to talk to Shea Serrano. Who else? I don't even know. We'll see. First, Pearl Jam. All right, Celtics up 2-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals. We're going to talk to my dad about that in a little bit because he was there. I just wanted to mention, trying to figure out how crazy this is, that this is happening. Because I'm positive that no team has made the finals without their 2 best players or 2 of their best 3. I don't think it's fair to call. It's almost demeaning to Al Horford now to say that he's not one of the 3 best players in this team and the relative equal to Hayward and probably 90 to 95, maybe even 100% of Kyrie. I thought he was the MVP this year of the Celtics. Even before Kyrie got hurt, I thought it was at least a debate. And I just thought Horford was more irreplaceable for what he did. And then on top of it, I really wanted to vote for him for All-NBA third team and came very, very close. And I don't even remember if I ended up voting for him or not. But I waffled back and forth. And if I didn't vote for him, the reason was I was afraid of being called a homer on the internet by basketball Twitter and all the mean people out there. You know who you are. There's some mean people out there. But I didn't want people like, Al Horford, 13 points, 8 rebounds. How is he on here? But, you know, if the Celtics, they ended up with a 2 seed, they got 61 games total out of their 2 best scorers, basically. And Horford was the glue to the team. Now people, I think, are fully appreciating what he does in the playoffs and how unique it was. It's funny, like, and I mentioned this before, we had these All-NBA teams for the regular season and the MVP ballot and the Rookie of the Year and all these different things. And then the playoffs come around, and really the only thing we have to determine in the moment, and then for people looking back 35, 40 years from now, what happened in that particular playoffs. We really just have the finals MVP and the results of the games. And in college, they have, the all tournament team and things like that. I think if you're doing an all tournament team for this NBA playoff so far, obviously you'd have LeBron James in there. I think you would have James Harden. I think you would have Kevin Durant and Al Horford. I think are the four no-brainer people that would be in there. And then we could argue about who the fifth person should be. I'll even go a step further. I think if you're giving out an MVP for the playoffs, I also think it's Al Horford because of all the things he does and all the mismatches he creates game to game. And you look at the Milwaukee series, he was the guy Milwaukee could never really figure out. He was a guy who could post up when they needed him. He was a guy who could shoot threes, run the fast break. He hustles back on defense. He beats guys down the floor. He's doing all that stuff. Then it gets to the Philly series, and Embiid, who is the most unstoppable low post center we have right now, Horford was able to hold him off and actually, really kind of give it to him on the other end and was a difference maker and made the biggest shot of the series. And then we go to the third round, and he's somebody that can guard all of these different types. Even in the last series, he's guarding Ben Simmons. He's guarded all types of players this whole playoffs. And I think, what's cool for somebody like me and other Celtics fans, and even going back to the Hawks days, people who watched him day in, day out, who kind of knew how special he was day to day, week to week, and also what a great teammate he is. And just, he's a guy that I always talk about the table test with NBA players about, what do you bring to the table? What do you take off? And you take somebody like Westbrook, who he brings 90% of this great stuff, and the 10% he takes off is so noticeable and so glaring that we kind of focus on that 10%, maybe a little too much sometimes. And Horford is one of those things. He just brings stuff to the table. And it's just like, oh, here's some forks, here's some knives, here's a bread plate, here's a butter plate. Hey, I brought some bread for you guys. And he's just bringing stuff and doesn't really take a lot off. And he's not somebody that anybody would say is one of the top 10 guys in the league. But it's funny because Draymond Green, who basically is the Al Horford of the Western Conference, and his stats are better in some respects. He's probably a slightly better defender. Definitely more competitive, definitely more of a personality, not as good of a three-point shooter. Better passer. I would say relatively same in the athleticism department. But Draymond Green, I think, gets the respect. And I think people are always like, oh, yeah, he's definitely one of the best 15 guys in the league. Draymond Green's great. He's done a lot in a lot of big games. And Al Horford, because the Cavs have kicked his ass in some playoffs, it's not exciting to talk about Al Horford. I think he has kind of slipped through the cracks. In the playoffs this year, he's at 17 a game, 8.4 rebounds, 3.6 assists. He's shooting 36% from three, shooting 58% on field goals, and then 80% from the free throw line. He is his PR is 22.7, which, as we know, PR is a little overrated, but it's still a good indicator. His usage rate is 19.4%, so he's not even involved in 20% of the possessions. But you going down the line, he's just solid, and it's actually something that he's been. If you go back to his Hawks days, right? So on the Hawks, they won a couple rounds a couple times. And, he was always in like the 15-9, 16-8 kind of range. So it isn't much different than what he's doing. It just seems to stand out more. And I think you can make a real case he's been the playoff MVP if it's not LeBron. I'd have a hard time giving LeBron the playoff MVP if they lost in round 3. I think I never like the losing guy as the MVP argument. But anyway, he's one of the four, however you want to stand on it. But anyway, I was thinking about the most shocking teams that have made the NBA Finals. And I went back to the ABA-NBA merger in 76, because once you go before that, the basketball gets a little weird. But the 76 Suns, who played the Celtics in the finals, and had the famous triple overtime game that I went to, and I fell asleep during. Actually, I told this story in my book, but the game started at 9:00. Boston crowd super drunk. Game goes. It's about 11:00. We're in the fourth quarter, and I was not even 6 years old yet. I was 6 years old. I was 6.5, and that was it. I had never stayed up that late before, and ended up going to sleep. And everybody in my section liked me because I was this little kid who dressed like the Celtics. I used to go on the court before the games. This was in the 70s. They just let people wander onto the court. I used to wander onto the court and stand under the basket, and I would rebound for the players. I swear to God, I'm not even kidding. I would go right under the basket and I would pray for an air ball, because if somebody hit an air ball or if two balls hit together, the ball would bounce me, I would throw it back. And I was just that kid. Everybody kind of in our section and around the baseline knew who they were. That I used to wander over to the Celtic bench. There's this picture of me in the Boston Herald once, of me next to Tom Heinsohn and John Killalay, who was the assistant way back when. Just me standing next to them. That's just what that era was like. Tickets were $3, and it was all blue collar people, and people smoked at halftime, and it was a different sport. So I went to that triple OT game. I fell asleep, stretched over 3 people. My dad, and then my legs were on somebody, and I think my head was on some lady. So nobody could get up. And in the second overtime, if you remember, the Celtics had the ball down 1 with like 7 seconds left, and they were inbounding the ball right near us because we sat behind the Phoenix bench at that point. And everybody stood up. So I actually had to wake up because everybody could stand, nobody could see. And so I wake up and I'm out of it. And now it's like midnight, and they inbound the ball to Havlicek, who's playing on one leg because he was like the first person on plantar fasciitis. I think he was the first person ever diagnosed with it. He wasn't even supposed to get the ball. He gets it, goes down the left side right in front of us. And I actually remember this. You know how you can kind of, I remember remembering something, but you don't actually remember. I can actually like literally remember this. Him going down in front of us on one leg, and he banks a shot in. And it seemed like the Celtics won. It seemed like the buzzer sounded and they won. So everyone charges the court. And now it's like I've gone from I was asleep to now I'm awake to this guy hits the shot and it seems like we win. And now this was in the era when people jumped on the court, plus everybody's drunk and it's midnight. Now people are vaulting over us to get to the court because we're in like the 4th row. And so now I'm terrified. I'm like, we're all going to die. Like everybody's charging the court. What's happening? And this huge chaos on the court, everybody's celebrating. And the referee gets punched, Richie Powers. And then it turns out the Suns have 1 second left on the clock to work with. They call a timeout so they can advance the ball at midcourt, which is really smart. They get a technical. JoJo White hits the technical. And then they inbound the ball to Garherd, and it becomes one of the most famous shots in history. He makes like this 15-footer, but in the Garden when I was 6, it seemed like it was about 45 feet. Goes in, triple overtime, Celtics finally win. And then held off the Suns in 6. I don't know if I needed to tell that story, but I really enjoyed it anyway. But anyway, the Suns had no business making the finals that year. They beat the Warriors in 7. And that was kind of the most shocking team that had ever made the finals to that point. But then if you go through after that, the 78 Sonics, I think they won 44 games or 46 or something, but they started out 5-17. They fired their coach. It was a young team, a lot like the Celtics. They didn't have any All-NBA players. But they did have guys who became great guys. Dennis Johnson, Gus Williams, Jack Sikma, and they ended up making the finals. And they lost to the Bullets, and then they ended up beating the Bullets next year. That team was shocking. The 95 Rockets, the year after Hakeem Olajuwon won, they were just counted out. They didn't have home court in any series. They didn't have a great regular season. And they shocked people. 9 years before that, the 86 Rockets, I think were another shocker. But they had two number 1 picks in the draft that decade, and they were fearsome to play against. And it wasn't like that shocking that they made the finals. It was shocking that they beat the Lakers in 5, but it wasn't shocking that they beat the Lakers. Like it was definitely, they were on the radar at that point. The 99 Knicks, the year Patrick Ewing got hurt, and the year I had written about the Ewing theory on my website, my old website, bostonsportsguy.com, had written about the Ewing theory. And then Patrick Ewing got hurt. Everyone wrote off the Knicks, and they made the finals, and everyone thought I was a witch doctor. The 07 Cavs, that was LeBron had been in the league at that point. It was his fourth year. He didn't really have anybody good on his team other than LeBron James. And the Pistons were on this run where they made the finals in 04, or they won it. They made it in 05, almost won it. 06, Shaq and Wade hit them with a haymaker. And then 07, people thought they were going to make it again. Cavs shocked them in game 5. LeBron puts up 48 in Detroit. They win in game 6. Boobie Gibson, who's now on the Challenge Champs versus Pros. So I don't know whether this is a sad fall or a great thing for Boobie Gibson. We'll never know. But 07 Cavs, shocking. They made the finals. They got destroyed by the Spurs. And then the other one was the 09 Magic, which beat the Celtics. They beat somebody else that was really good, who I'm blanking on. And it just was like surprising. Oh, the Cavs. The Cavs, that was the year the Cavs were supposed to make the finals, and LeBron was awesome in that series, and the Magic just made a lot of threes, and Dwight Howard was great, and they snuck in there. That's really it for the last 40 years. I mean, you could say the 2011 Mavericks were kind of surprising. Like you could go through certain teams, but the 2012 Celtics probably made it because Derrick Rose got hurt. You could go through but every team kind of made sense. This 2018 Celtics potentially making the finals makes no sense whatsoever. It's inconceivable. But then I went through the finals teams that had no first team All-NBA or second team All-NBA guys. Going back, the last team was the 05 Pistons. And that year, Ben Wallace was third team All-NBA. So he was still a top 15 guy. The 2000 Pacers, they didn't have any All-NBA guys. That was also a really good team. They had Reggie Miller, Jalen Rose, the Davis brothers, Rick Smits. It was one of those teams that didn't have a top 15 guy, but was the deepest, kind of best bet to make the finals that year, I would say. I think they won 60 games. The 99 Knicks, who we mentioned, that was a fluke year. That was the lockout year, 50-game season. Nothing made sense that year. The Knicks were an 8 seed and made the finals. They never should have been an 8 seed. That was the year the Pacers probably should have made it and blew it. The 95 Rockets, Hakeem was third team All-NBA that year. 94 Knicks, no All-NBA guys that year. But to be fair, it was a crazy year for centers because you had Hakeem, Robinson, and Shaq. So Ewing was the fourth best center that year, but almost any other year makes it. The 1990 Trailblazers, Drexler was third team. The 1990 Pistons, Dumars was third team. The 89 and 88 Pistons did not have an All-NBA guy, and in 88 they only had 2 teams anyway. But that's how deep and great that team was. And by the way, Isaiah was one of the best 8 or 9 guys in the league. He just was giving up stats to win at that point. 79 Sonics, we mentioned. 78 Sonics and the 78 Bullets had no first or second team All-NBA guys. And the reason I mention this, even if you go through all those teams that didn't have them, or Ben Wallace was second team or whatever, you could at least look back and go, oh, that made sense. You know, like Hakeem Olajuwon's one of the 12 best players ever. Ewing's one of the best 40 players ever. Clyde Drexler's probably the 6th or 7th best 2-guard ever, and that team was really good. Those Pistons teams were loaded. Dumars is a Hall of Famer. Isaiah Thomas is one of the best 25 players. Dennis Rodman was on that team. Like, those teams were good. The 79 and 78 Sonics had DJ and Gus, who in retrospect were an incredible backcourt. And DJ's in the Hall of Fame. Gus is not in the Hall of Fame, but should be, especially with some of the guys that have gotten in. That 78 Bullets team had Elvin Hayes and Wes Unseld and Bobby Dandridge, who made second team All-NBA the year after. And the 00 Pacers had Reggie Miller, who is one of the great clutch guys we've had in the last 25 years, plus a bunch of other good guys. And Jalen in his prime. Jalen was really good. Jalen was arguably, could have made third team All-NBA at some point in his career. I don't know if he ever did. 99 Knicks had Camby and Sprewell and Allen Houston. Those teams are good. What we're seeing with the Celtics team to not have Kyrie and to not have Hayward, but then to have this mismatch of Horford is probably close to being an All-NBA guy and might even make it this year, but not totally. Tatum will make it at some point in his life. Jaylen Brown might too. But there's just no track record of this happening. Even the 76 Suns, who came out of nowhere, Alvin Adams was Rookie of the Year. Paul Westphal was embarking on this awesome half-decade run where I think he made 3 first-team All-NBAs and a second-team All-NBA and was just the best two-guard in the league for 5 years. This team, it's either guys who we never really appreciated or guys who are a few years away from being the guy. And it's unprecedented. It's crazy that LeBron yesterday basically did the same thing he did in 2012 in Game 6, where he comes out and makes every shot and tries to kill the crowd. And this team wouldn't go away, and they're down 5 at the half. And it was like, but they just took LeBron's best shot. They're going to win. And that's where we are right now. So, and one last thing on this All-NBA thing, usually it takes 2 guys to make the finals. And if you go through history, everybody had 2, pretty much, I would say 80% of the finals teams, especially in the last 25, 28, 30 years or so, had 2 awesome guys in their team. 2 guys that were considered, either you had a top 10 guy in the league, and then you also had the additional guy who was probably a top 15 guy. So like the Celtics in 2008, Garnett and Pierce. The Miami teams, LeBron and Wade, and then even Bosh. The Warriors, you had Curry and Green and Clay. You had Curry and Durant. You went through. The Cavs had LeBron and Kyrie. The Miami team in 06, Wade and Shaq. You go on down the line, like it's almost an anomaly just to have one guy. Like the 2011 Mavs basically had Dirk and then a bunch of role guys, and that was kind of surprising. The Lakers had Kobe and Pau Gasol, who was one of the best 12 to 15 guys in the league for a few years there. The 07 team with the Cavs was basically LeBron and nobody. But even like you look at 2013 and 14 with the Spurs, Parker was second team one year and third team another year All-NBA. Duncan in 2013, I think he was first team All-NBA. Pretty sure he was first team. Second year he wasn't, but you know, they had their 2 guys. See, every team has had these 2 guys that you could be like, oh, those were their 2 guys. And I think for the Celtics team, I guess basically one of those guys has to be Brad Stevens. It's like, I've never seen a situation where the coach is one of the 2 guys, but I think we're there. It seems like he's having that much of an impact game to game, week to week. So maybe the 2 guys for the Celtics are Stevens and Horford, and then the combo of Tatum and Brown, who one of whom every game seems to be an elite guy, but you never know which one it's going to be. I've just never seen anything like this, and I don't know what we're watching, but we're gonna call my dad and we're gonna get his take on the whole thing because he was there yesterday. We're gonna call my dad in 1 second. First, though, Quip. Most of us are brushing our teeth wrong, not for long enough, and forget to change our brush on time. And it's just, we're a mess when we brush our teeth. Most brands focus on selling flashy gimmicks rather than better brushing, but not Quip. Quip is an electric toothbrush that costs a fraction of bulkier brushes and packs the right amount of vibrations to clean your teeth. Quip's subscription is built for your health, delivering new brush heads every 3 months for just $5, including free shipping worldwide. Everyone loves Quip. They were on Oprah's O List, named one of Time's best inventions, the first subscription electric toothbrush accepted by the American Dental Association, and hundreds of thousands of happy brushers. Quip starts at just $25, and if you get to getquip.com/BS right now, you'll get your first refill pack free with a Quip electric toothbrush. That's your first refill pack free at getquip.com/BS. All right, we're going to call my dad. All right, my dad's on the line. Dad, you missed it. I just audibled into this whole story about the triple overtime game in 1976 before I even I was talking about the All-NBA teams and how I slept across you and two other people for most of the second half and the first overtime. Do you want to verify that story?
I do. I will verify that because the game got over about after 1 a.m.
Right.
It was back in the day when they started those games at like 9:10, 9:12.
Yeah.
And you can imagine on the East Coast what time it would have been if there were 3 overtimes as there were. And,
yeah. And I do remember
you were 6 years old.
Yeah. But I remember waking up for the Havlicek shot that we thought won the game, and then everybody jumped over us, and I thought we were going to die.
True. I think you also woke up when Garfield Hurd made that ridiculous. It wasn't a 3. There were no right. There were no 3s back then.
No, it was
a 2. It was a 2 to tie.
Yeah. Looking back, I do think there's a case to be made with child services for you bringing me to that game.
Well, I think you might have missed school the next day.
I remember I wrote about this in my basketball book. We got home at like 1:30.
No, we got home a little later than that.
And maybe even later. And for whatever reason, like we were both wired from the game and we put TV on and Charlie's Angels was on. It was like they were rerunning some episode of Charlie's Angels from...
I have to admit, I don't remember that part.
It was like a show like that, and I was like, "Wow, TV's still on at this hour." I was like so blown away by that.
Because we were living in Brookline, which meant that it wasn't like we could walk home. We had to
take the train.
We had a car at a parking lot somewhere and had to drive in heavy traffic at 1:30 in the morning. But one of the half dozen most memorable games ever, and for you, I vividly remember you sleeping. Your head was on my lap, and your body and legs were in 2 strangers in a row,
right?
And they never said a thing.
Well, then they had to stand up for the Havlicek shot. So yesterday,
so you kept getting awakened because people would stand up when crazy things happened. That's right.
My friend Sully said that the crowd last night, he said, was the loudest since the 2010 finals. Would you deny or confirm?
I think he's probably accurate. I thought the crowd Sunday was really, really loud too, in spurts because, we took a big lead. It got really loud when at the end of the third quarter on Sunday when they got it down to 14. But last night was a totally different kind of game. You had LeBron coming out and scoring 21 points in the first quarter. And we should have been down by 15 points. And we're down by 4.
Yeah.
And, we played great team basketball. It's like every quarter somebody took over. Jaylen Brown, I think he had 14 points in the first quarter. And then, different guys took over. Rozier had a good quarter. Obviously, Al Horford had a terrific fourth quarter. Smart was outstanding. But when we're down by 11, I think we're down by 11 in the third quarter, and the crowd was a little bit, I wouldn't say afraid, but certainly terrified that LeBron was going to go on a final run and equal his 25 first half points. And then we had a couple of things happen. I don't know when it happened when J.R. Smith pushed Horford into the crowd.
Yeah.
That really woke up the crowd. There were a couple of other great moments that woke up the crowd, and Rozier's dunk. I'm remembering specific plays, but we played great team.
Well, there was
basketball.
There was one sequence where Marcus Smart got 2 offensive rebounds on the same play, and the second one was like this death-defying jump back in, the putback. And that
was probably the biggest motivating play for the crowd.
Yeah.
I happened to be coming out of the bathroom at that time, unfortunately. But I could hear, it's like the roof almost came off at that moment. And, of course, I came down to my seat. I was with my brother, Don, your Uncle Don. And Don said, "You just missed the biggest play of the game."
Yeah.
I heard it, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a great P, though.
It was necessary.
I think the Celtics fans for the past few years have been in that Marcus corner, which is a corner where you just kind of have to watch him day in, day out to understand what he means, especially in these home games and how unafraid he is. And He's certainly somebody you never want him to shoot from three, but that's just part of the package. He's going to do it. And he's going to make that one crazy pass in traffic that's a bad idea. And he's going to take the one charge where he gets called for a foul that he shouldn't do. And you just kind of accept it. And now it's like he's put it together, whatever this weird mismatch of skills he has. And he's kind of unlike not only is he unlike any player I've ever watched, it might be in any sport. I've never really watched anybody like this before. The stats don't even come close to describing what he is and what he means and how he connects with the crowd and how tough he is. And like when JR did that cheap shot on Horford, which was really a dangerous play, Smart was going to be the first guy over there getting in his face. That's just who he is. And he's just this tough guy that him and your nemesis, Marcus Morris, and Aaron Baines, like this team's really tough and they don't take shit and they're just in your face, but Smart, you've come around on, right?
I have come around on. You and I used to think he was a version of kind of like Tony Allen, that defensive stalwart, but I've changed my opinion on him. He's a much, much better player than Tony Allen.
Yeah.
He had 9 assists last night. When he was, I think his plus was over 20. Even LeBron in the post game, when he gave his interview, he referenced Marcus Smart and the impact he had on the game. And sure enough, who was the guy who immediately came to Horford's defense? Marcus Smart. Although Rozier was there too. I mean, our guards were terrific last night compared to Cleveland. I think Cleveland's starting guards had 3 points. And after J.R. Smith did that cheap shot push, which was, as you said, was very dangerous. Horford certainly could have hurt himself. The crowd started chanting,
fuck JR, right?
F-U zero, F-U zero. And the zero meaning up on the scoreboard, he had 0 points and 0 assists, I think, for the game.
Yeah. Well, I think his jerseys.
It's an intelligent crowd. I mean, they pick out interesting factors in terms of their chants. Loud crowd, great crowd.
Well, Smart had this is like we don't really have a stat for this, but I guess we have the stats, but just the combined impact of it. He had 3 offensive rebounds and 4 steals. And he's a guard. Yeah. So there's 7, those are 7 different plays that he swung, but then the impact of those, like that second offensive rebound putback, as you said, it was the key crowd moment of the game. But then he had that steal right before the first half. And then they got the cheap bucket, and all of a sudden it was a little more manageable than the score was than it was. But he manages to do those things. I don't know how he's not on the team next year, and I don't know what the right price for him is. Right. I also think if I was, fortunately this is a summer where not a lot of people have cap space, but if I was another team, like you get that guy on your team and the culture that he brings and the ferocity and the intensity, if you're a shitty team, I don't know how you put a price on that. So I'm hoping nobody realizes that. And we get him for like 10, 11, 12 million a year or something. But, he is a guy that would be a good guy to sign.
There was a guy sitting next to Don who I assumed had scalped the tickets. I'm sure that had a high price, but every time Smart had the ball, he was screaming out, "Don't shoot, don't shoot, don't shoot," right? And then when he made the shot, of course, he's standing up cheering, and I'm probably in the same ballpark.
Yeah, yes.
I don't yell "Don't shoot" anymore. I just kind of cringe when he shoots. I've now changed my "Don't shoot" to Marcus Morris when he has the ball. Don't shoot, don't shoot.
Well, you're probably right on that one. But I will say this about Morris. I don't know if we've ever had other than Pierce in the end of last decade, and it was before LeBron was LeBron, but Pierce used to defend him pretty well in the 08 range. And Posey was okay against him too. But I don't remember a Celtic doing kind of I don't want to say better, but doing a more decent job on LeBron. he at least makes him work for whatever he's going to get. And LeBron can't overpower him. They're basically the same size. Morris is a big dude. He's 6'9", 250.
Right.
You know? So,
I'm not going to disagree with you because at halftime, well, first of all, LeBron had 21 in the first quarter, but he only had 4 points in the second quarter. So that was
because
that
Morris was guarding him more in the second quarter. They tried to get away with Jaylen Brown and Tatum and
well, Cleveland did a great job in the first quarter of picking Morris off of LeBron, and we'd end up with somebody else guarding LeBron who had more difficulty when he went to the basket. You also, I don't know if you recall, but LeBron made 3 of his first 4 three-pointers.
Well, when he made that one in front of the bench, I did.
Oh my gosh!
I started to get the flashbacks of that game we went to, the 2012 Game 6, when he just murdered us. But the difference was they could never really pull away as he was doing that.
Well, yeah, and everybody's written about it, and I'm sure you've talked about it as well. He didn't have his sidekick, Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a slight period in the second quarter when Corver hurt us. I think he made 3 threes and a 2, and he had 11 points at the half. I don't think he scored in the second half. They have an inconsistent group around LeBron.
Wait, you're using the word inconsistent? That's a complimentary compared to what it actually is. They suck.
They had 3 guys in double figures. I think we had 5 or 6 guys in double figures. Almost 7, because I think Baines had 9 points. We're just. I'm still walking out of there shaking my head because there's no Irving, there's no Hayward. We have 5 guys out there playing terrific team basketball, but we never expected to be here. We're 2 games away from the finals.
I know. I just did before you came on. I was saying like the most surprising teams that made the finals, and just there's certain teams that, even if it's surprising they made the finals, they still had an All-NBA guy in the team. Like Dwight Howard in the 2009 Magic, he was first team All-NBA there. He was the best center in the league. This team has no really anything, although I think the listeners already heard me make this case, but I think Horford, people are now appreciating that he's kind of better than everyone realized, but we've felt this way the whole time. But do you still feel like he's gone up a level, or you feel like this is Al Horford?
I think he's gone up a level in the playoffs. I think he's a terrifically consistent player, team player. I mean, if it calls for him playing point forward, he'll play point forward. But I looked up at the scoreboard, I think at the end of the third quarter, he had 7 points. And he was missing shots that he typically makes.
Yeah, he was off.
3-pointers.
Yeah, I agree.
Off. I mean,
so was Tatum.
So was Tatum, yep. But in the fourth quarter, putting Smart aside because he was crazy the whole game, Horford took over. He was. I think he had a minute and a half span where he made like 8 points, and all of a sudden LeBron was walking to the bench and taken out of the game.
I'm sure you could see this from your seats. They just don't move on defense, and I don't know. I keep thinking like, what's going to happen in Cleveland? And I'm sure I'm sure LeBron's going to get some calls in Game 3 and the typical Game 3 stuff.
He got calls last night.
Yeah, but he's LeBron and he should get the calls. But I think the one thing that's not going to change with this Cavs team is how bad they are on defense. They've been bad the whole year. They figured out how to kind of cheat it, but where you can get them is ball movement and running off of rebounds. And like Tim Legler was on ESPN last night after the game, and he was pointing out like 3 plays that happened during the game where the Celtics would get a rebound and they would have all 5 guys underneath the Cavs basket. And then they would take off, and the Cavs had guys, like 4 guys back, and the Celtics were still able to beat them down court because they're just not hustling. And I think LeBron has learned, there was a great Brian Windhorst story about this. LeBron's learned how to kind of cheat during games and save his energy basically for offense. And you can't do that against us.
Yeah.
Because
like I said, I took Don to the game. He had never seen LeBron play. And we're walking out of the Garden after the game, and he said, LeBron doesn't play much defense.
No.
And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, he kind of loafs out there. He paces. He tries to play, safety or center field.
Yeah.
And it was very noticeable. On the other hand,
but he has to do that. Yeah, I know. He's in his 15th year and he's played a cajillion minutes, and that's he picks these spots to save energy. But I think what's interesting is, especially yesterday, the Celtics were kind of attacking that, and they're going backdoor on him and setting picks and waiting for him to kind of zone out for a second. And there was a number of times they were able to take advantage of that. Then you go to J.R. Smith and Kyle Korver. Like, these guys aren't good defenders. The trades they made, look at yesterday. Clarkson gets a DNP. Hood played 11 minutes, 2 points. Larry Nance played 11 minutes, 0 points. And then George Hill, who looked like a corpse last night, 33 minutes, 3 points. And those were their big trade deadline deals. And by the way, you don't have to worry about the Brooklyn pick haunting us anymore in the lottery, because it ended up being the 8th pick.
Yeah,
so
the 8th pick. I mean,
that was a relief.
They'll get a player, but they're not going to get a superstar player.
Yeah, although I guess if Kyrie would have been hurt anyway, so they would have been missing him either way. But
who knows? I mean, one injury on one team 1 year doesn't mean it would have happened on the other team.
So yesterday,
never looked that way.
They got 64 points and 25 rebounds from Love and LeBron, and they lost by 13. This Celtics team has been much better at home than on the road for the most part. And even the games they've won, they basically played like a good half. And guys like Rozier have been different guys at home than on the road. I think it's tougher to expect the energy guys. It's just not the same. You're on the road.
Yeah, we have to do what we did against Philly. We have to steal one of the two games. I don't know if you saw Ty Lue's post-game press conference, but he made a comment. He said, the Celtics don't play as well on the road.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure you want to throw that out there, but because we already know that. But do you throw that out there to the Celtics? And he also, I don't remember the word he used. It wasn't goons, but it was an inference that the Celtics play too physical a style of basketball. And I'm kind of laughing as I'm recalling J.R. Smith shoving with two hands in the back of Horford as he went hurling and could have easily done something to his legs.
Well, remember he knocked out Crowder a few years ago. There's a YouTube clip of J.R. Smith that's called like J.R. Smith's 10 dirtiest plays. That probably could be. There's 10 of them, but there could probably be 20. Like, he's somebody that definitely has these moments where he just snaps during games, and has also had a really bad year. I think the Cavs fans have been the most frustrated with him, I think, over anybody. Love's always hurt us. Thompson, I thought his rebounding hurt us, but I think the problem for them is because they didn't develop their 7 through 11 guys at all. It's a pretty easy team to play because you know what you're getting. It's not like they can throw different lineups and. I wouldn't
have started JR last night. I would have started Korver. And,
I agree.
After that first half, Korver never got the ball.
Well, Korver,
actually, I don't think he played the third quarter.
Do you know how many minutes he played? Yeah, you know how many minutes he played?
No.
21.
Yeah.
See,
I would have played him 35 minutes.
I was going to say I would have played him 40.
I mean, every time he came off a screen, he was open, and my guy in front of me said, "Who scares you more, Redick or Korver?" And I thought that was a really good question, given we've just seen Redick in the Philly series. They're very similar, scary players. When that ball goes up in the air, you kind of assume it's going in. And there's not too many players like that, so I'm glad he didn't play that many minutes.
Do you want to apologize to Jaylen Brown for not liking that pick when they made it 2 years ago? I think you owe him something.
No, it was Rick Grossbeck that got booed. I didn't get booed. I didn't. You
didn't like the pick?
I don't think. Who did I say I wanted? I mean, I never saw JR. I never saw Jaylen Brown play.
You wanted Jamal Murray.
I think you throw me on the bus. Who did I want?
Jamal Murray on Kentucky, who's now in Denver. That's who you wanted. You were upset. You were like, Jaylen Brown, who is this guy? He can't score. You don't remember that?
I don't think so.
You don't remember?
I don't remember that.
Do you remember being upset when they made the Tatum trade? You didn't understand why you traded down. Why do we do that? What the hell's going on? Why don't we just take Fultz as the best guy?
Do you have any video evidence of that?
Zach Lowe and I did Zach Lowe's podcast on Monday. We were talking about that trade, about the best part of that trade was the Lakers not smoke screening anybody at all and just staying at number 2 and not even pretending they were taking Tatum for a second, because the Celtics were taking Tatum at 1. They just figured they could get him at 3 because the Lakers were taking Lonzo, get another asset. And all Magic had to do was pretend he liked Jason Tatum for like 2 seconds. And
we would have traded something to him probably.
No, or we just stay at 1 and we don't make the trade, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Except LA was stuck. They were between a rock and a hard place on that pick. I mean, their fan base wanted them to take Ball. Don't you think?
Yeah, but I think they would end up taking him anyway. But I don't know if it's a good idea to have it out there who you're taking. We were worried about Sacramento. The Celtics have Sacramento's pick next year. It's top 1 protected. So our hope for Sacramento was that
they're the second worst team.
Or also that they don't get somebody who's good enough to kind of transform their team so that all of a sudden they're the 8th worst team instead of the 3rd worst team.
This morning I read a very well done article on The Ringer about the projected top first and second round picks now in the draft, and they're projecting Phoenix to take the kid from Spain.
Doncic.
And that the center would go number 2 to the Kings.
Well, that's what we want.
And you said that's what you want because he may be terrific in 3 years, but he's not going to carry a team next year.
He's not going to be Shaq on the 93 Magic and come in and put up 22 and 12 a game. He will take a couple years. Doncic worries me for the Sacramento because he could come in and have an immediate impact. I've been really impressed by some of the stuff he's been doing for them. With this Real Madrid team.
Tough for Phoenix not to go for that franchise center, though. Tough choice that they're going to have, I think. Don't you?
I just think Luka was special. To do what he's doing but to do what he's doing at 18, to be playing crunch time and being like the guy on one of the best teams in Europe was
obviously
crazy.
The new Phoenix coach coached them I think in the World Championships, but
so
I hope they take them. They take them, and they still have no center, which is part of the reason I'm a little worried they may take the center.
I thought I was the most worried when Phoenix hired that coach that they were going to end up with him anyway. Because it just seemed fishy to me. They hired this guy or this connection who I'd never really heard mentioned for a job. And then all of a sudden this guy is the Phoenix coach. So I figured like if they were 2, 3, or 4, he was going to rig it so that, hey, I'm not even going to come to the NBA unless I go to Phoenix. But now Phoenix gets the number 1 pick. And you think about it, like if they had him, Booker, and Josh Jackson, and then they used their cap space to go sign Clint Capella, all of a sudden that team's really fun.
A little bit like the Celtics with the great wings.
Yeah, but for Sacramento, I don't really see they don't really have a lot of salary cap space. Fox is their best guy, but he's a couple years away, and I don't really see a path for them. The big thing for us was Brooklyn. That Brooklyn pick not landing in the top 3 would have sucked.
Yeah, I mean, if Cleveland had ended up with the second pick in the draft, that would have just bothered me for some stupid reason. So
can I read
number 8?
Before we go, can I read some of your tweets from last night? My dad's on Twitter.
Well, I need to say my phone died in the third quarter. So end of the third quarter. So my loyal fan base, I couldn't tweet anything.
My dad has 26,000 followers, which I think puts you in the top 50 for people over 70. So, but unfortunately, your phone died and your prostate died in the third quarter. But
it's a tough night.
Here's some of your tweets from last night. Celt settling for the 3, blah, blah, blah. Also, has LeBron ever had a turnover or missed a shot where he wasn't fouled? Crybaby, 3 exclamation points. That was one. League apparently gave the message to the refs, need the series tied at 1, heading back to Cleveland. Terrible calls all game. Then the next one, With my brother Don, who's never seen LeBron in person, asked me why LeBron cries to the refs every time he doesn't get a call, misses a shot, or commits a turnover. I told him there's one set of rules for the king and another for everyone else. You were fired up. So I guess my point is people wonder where I get it from, but I'm 50% you, and that's where I get it from, because those sound like exaggerated, crazy tweets that I would do.
I guess they do, and it really bugs me when LeBron cries every time something happens.
You hate LeBron.
It really bugs me. I mean, he'll get a turnover, and it would be the Celtics' fault.
Yeah.
God forbid he gets called for a foul. He's never fouled in his career. And if he misses a shot, obviously he must have gotten hit on the arm. It's such a consistent crybaby theme during the game.
He really does.
Obviously, it bugged me during the game.
You know what they do? The Celtics do this. I don't know if people realize this, but LeBron always looks up at the Jumbotron after any call that goes against him for replay.
He does. I watched it last night. You're right.
But do you know what the Celtics do?
Well, the Celtics don't show stuff that's controversial.
No, they don't show any replay that he's going to look up. They just show him looking up at the Jumbotron.
Yeah.
So he looks up for the call, and it's just LeBron looking at himself, basically. And it's one of their little tricks.
I saw him looking up there, and there was kind of an iffy call. And he's looking up there, and the Jumbotron has a picture of him looking up there.
With that,
but I didn't realize that that's a deliberate effort on the part of the Celtics not to give him anything to then go scream to the ref about, right?
The other thing that I learned last night was that Marcus Morris's brother, Markieff, was sitting under the basket near where Wick was. And apparently when J.R. Smith did that foul, he was standing up and screaming at J.R. Smith. We had both Morris brothers upset at J.R. Smith. I think that's good for us.
That's very funny.
So how you feeling? You think do we win this?
Oh, God. When Cleveland was up 11 last night in the third quarter, I just didn't know if we could come back because we couldn't stop LeBron. And then suddenly it's 84-77, and when we're in the lead, and I'm not sure how it happened.
Yeah.
I said to Don, what happened? we're down by 11, and now we're up by 7.
Right.
And it happened so fast. Can we do this? Yeah, we can do this. But we have to steal one in Cleveland. And you're coming back for Game 6. Wouldn't you like to see us up 3-1?
No, I'm coming back for 5.
I mean, Game 5. Wouldn't you like to see us up 3-1?
No, I want to cancel my trip because we swept. That's my dream scenario.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not happening. But
I know, but I'm just saying, if you gave me my draft picks for choices for the rest of the series, number 1 would be I have to cancel my trip because we swept the series. Number 2 would be we're up 3-1 and going into Game 5. But I do think this big layoff before Game 3 helps the Celtics because this is...
If it's 2-2 next Wednesday night, unfortunately, I have horror memories of that Miami team coming in here.
I know.
I think that was Game 6. And LeBron just being... Now, he was younger, obviously, but he was totally unstoppable that night. So
he's not... He doesn't have the same gas tank. And the thing that I'm curious for, if I had to bet, if you told me like it's going to be 2-2 and the Cavs are going to win Game 5 in Boston, that's one scenario. Or the Cavs are going to splinter and get swept would be the other scenario, which neither one I don't think is that realistic. I see them splintering more than rallying because I thought the stuff that was going on last night, and the announcers were talking about it, but then the people I know who were at the game were like, they were yelling at each other and the body language was awful. And I could see
they were yelling at each other, by the way.
It'll be interesting to see.
George Hill and J.R. Smith were yelling at each other.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It just doesn't seem like a happy team, which makes me wonder, Clarkson's unhappy. Hood refused to go in the game. Thompson's playing time got ranked around all year. J.R. Smith is a freaking wild card. Kevin Love, it's like he's either LeBron's best friend or LeBron's mad at him, one or the other. You're going down the line. Nance isn't playing.
But again, they play much better at home.
True.
And we have guys, and Terry Rozier is the perfect example. I don't know what happens to him on the road, but he's not the same player.
Well, he's a young guy. Yeah, he's a young guy.
I mean, if this series goes 7, I mean, let's say everybody holds home court, and Game 7 in Boston, it's a Sunday night at 8:30.
My God,
that's crazy.
Wow,
don't you think?
It's crazy
Why
for you.
This is a Sunday at 3:30 in the afternoon game.
People are worried about your heart and your health. Do you want to give them the report on that before we go?
Fortunately, I have good heart medication. I didn't need any of it.
What was that pause?
I didn't need any of it on Sunday.
Tuesday, you needed it?
I needed it last night.
Oh, God.
It led to my bathroom visit, yeah. So I'd like to see a sweep. It would certainly help my heart condition. And then we're on to the finals.
The Celtics need time to recover, and so do you. Yeah, well, we'll see.
Right.
This is certainly one of the most improbable. I feel like 2012 making the finals with that team that seemed like it was pretty much done. That was pretty crazy. Last year, just making it to round 3 was relatively nuts. The 2000.
If we're in a Game 7 in Boston, are you here? What kind of fan are you? Are you here? Are you flying coast to coast for Game 7?
I'm going to wait to see what happens.
Okay.
You know, I think I'm a pretty good fan. I've come back a few times already.
I think you're a great fan.
Thanks a lot. The 2000.
Well, I had 3 people come up to me last night and say, "Really enjoying your tweets."
Oh, you're really having a renaissance, and so the social media renaissance.
Yeah, so
it's great. This is great for you.
You need to give me a couple more shout outs because.
All right.
I don't know that I have the over 70 crowd yet.
I'm not sure.
Are they tweeting, by the way?
Yeah, probably not.
Okay.
All right. Dad, hang in there. I'll talk to you later in the week.
All right. Talk to you.
All right. Bye. All right. Shea Serrano is here. Before we get to him, Full Sail University's Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting. Let's talk about that. Dan Patrick, ESPN legend, legendary sportscaster from the Dan Patrick Show, Sunday Night Football, Sports Center. You know, he's teamed up with Full Sail University to offer an accelerated bachelor's degree in sportscasting. Full Sail University combines hands-on learning, immersive projects, and a great faculty with real-world experience to prepare students for life in the media industry so you can eventually someday end up being like me or Shea Serrano. For the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, they brought in some of sports media's best to be a part of this program. Longtime ESPN producer, multi-Emmy winner, and my friend since 1982, Gus Ramsey. He's leading the program. He's been on this podcast. Still plays video games, even though he has 3 kids somehow. Amazing. Sportscasting pros such as Jay Harris, Kevin Nagande, many more are involved. I am thrilled to be part of the advisory board. I might even speak to a couple classes over the course of next year. In this program, students will learn sportscasting inside and out, on camera, behind the camera, podcasting, radio, interviewing, everything in between. At Full Sail University's Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, you can earn a bachelor's degree in about half the time, as short as 20 months. And you can choose to earn your degree online or at Full Sail's campus in Orlando, Florida. To learn more about Full Sail University's Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, go to fullsail.edu/Bill Simmons. And we should mention, we've actually given them advice on the type of people that we wish we were able to find candidates on, because, you know, a lot of these journalism schools train people in old school, go be a beat reporter or go be a copy editor and just these old school things. And the reality is multimedia stuff's changing. Have to teach somebody like nephew Kyle how to edit a podcast and produce it and be an engineer. And we had to do it on the fly here. And it would be nice if he could have gone to a school and done all those things. Anyway, Shea Serrano is here. His microphone is pointed up like an erect penis. Can you fix that? Thank you.
It took 10 seconds for this to get inappropriate.
Thank you. You're coming off a triumphant appearance on House of Carbs.
Yes.
You talked about San Antonio food. You did not like my comments about the San Antonio Tex-Mex.
It's the closest I'd ever come to quitting my job.
I didn't mean that. I should have checked. I should have at least given you a heads up.
Something.
I was saying the Tex-Mex is great, but that's really the only alternative there. And if you're there for 8 days and like by day 4, it's like you can't eat another fajita, you can't have another taco, and you're just like, can I have a salad or a juice or
We have fajita
anything?
salads.
Fajita salads.
We have, that's an actual thing.
Salsa juice.
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys that likes to mix it up, and there's not a lot of mixing it up in San Antonio.
No, there's not. You can get some beans and some rice and some meat
And some sizzling chicken.
and arrange it in a way that is pleasing to you.
But your case was Tex-Mex is the best, and so what if it's the only thing on the menu? It still kicks everything else's ass.
Shaq dunked everything. You know, it's the same thing. Why do we want Shaq to shoot a 3-pointer? Well, I don't want Mexicans in San Antonio cooking up, I don't know, Italian food. No,
Yeah, you don't need pasta in San Antonio.
No, I don't need pasta in San Antonio.
There is some barbecue, but you have to kind of leave San Antonio and
You gotta get on
head
the
out about
outsides.
40 minutes.
Yeah,
we did
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Jalen and I did it once. We went to whatever the most famous place was, and it was like probably an $80 taxi. And then the part we didn't realize what we did. We really did. We paid $80 for a taxi.
Okay.
And the part we didn't realize was the taxi back home.
Uh-huh.
It was like, oh yeah, we're in the middle of nowhere, and now we have to find somebody to drive us back. So that was an issue. But I'll tell you, nothing. I've never seen anybody happier than Jalen Rose at an old school barbecue place.
Really?
Oh my God,
Big barbecue guy, huh?
he just when we went to Gus's Fried Chicken in Memphis, I think it might have been the first Instagram picture I ever took was Jalen in this Gus's Fried Chicken thing, and he's just that all of those foods. That was my favorite part of traveling with him. We would go find like whatever, like the under the radar barbecue or chicken place or all that stuff. You're moving to San Antonio soon.
Correct. July.
Just in time for the 10 straight lottery appearances.
That's what I'm showing up. I want to be like on the panel when the person they send.
They're going to send you. If they could send Jamie Gertz, they could send Shea Serrano. Jamie Gertz, I think they could start a trend now of celebrities who, had their moment, maybe not recently, and those become your lottery representatives.
It worked out well for them.
I would say,
would you pick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you have sent William Zabka from the Cobra Kai series that we're about to talk about?
That's an automatic first pick.
Yeah, if he's there, if he's like, and the
Johnny
Knicks
Lawrence, but he has to be dressed.
Billy Zabka.
He has to be dressed like Johnny Lawrence.
Yeah,
like with the bandana and
or
everything.
the Clippers. The Clippers, they've sent Billy Zabka is going to be their person.
Yeah.
I really think that would have worked for them.
Yeah.
But Cobra Kai. So you wrote about this for The Ringer, but I have not talked about it yet. I was supposed to have Macho and Zabka on my podcast last week, and something happened and we had to delay it. So I can't wait anymore. I want to talk about this.
Okay.
Heard about this idea and felt bad for everybody just like a year ago.
Really?
It was like, oh, this is sad. This makes me sad.
No
This is a
way.
mistake. We can't do this.
Okay.
YouTube Red, what the hell have they done? Billy Zabka, he hasn't acted in 25 years since his legendary, I call it a three-peat. Karate Kid, just one of the guys, Back to School.
Yeah.
I don't know where that ranks.
The greatest bully run in history.
Yeah, it's like Shaq 000102 versus Billy Zabka 84, 85, 86. I don't know. We don't have the stats to really cross genres, but an incredible run, faded off. I did Adam Carolla's radio show, I'm going to say 10 years ago. And we had him come on to talk about Karate Kid.
Mm-hmm.
And he was 80% into it and like 20% pissed off about it. Like, I'm an actor.
Yeah.
I don't define myself by this movie. And Adam and I were both like, what the hell are you talking about? You're Johnny Lawrence. Like, you won the lottery. This is one of the great iconic roles ever. But now it seems like he's embraced it. So anyway, they had the trailer, I'm going to say about 2 months ago. And the trailer was good.
I thought it was fake when the trailer happened.
It was like, this is too good. What's happening?
Yeah.
And it became clear they spent money on this. My guard was still up. And then the Korean Iverson, Donnie Kwok, that's his self-proclaimed nickname.
Oh, yeah. I heard it on the other podcast.
On the music podcast. So Korean Iverson is in our Slack and is like, Cobra Kai is amazing.
It's really good.
I just ripped through it. Is anyone else watching this? Or are you guys not in the demo? And he's probably 10 years younger than I am. You're mid-30s, right? You late 30s?
36.
Yeah, 36. So I would say that the Karate Kid demo, nephew Kyle, you a Karate Kid guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I don't know where
I
the
think it
demo
stretches
ends.
forever.
Maybe it does.
My
Maybe it
kids
does.
just watched it.
So Quack loved it. And I'm like, okay, I'm in. So my whole family was gone on a Saturday night 2 weeks ago. Daughter's at a bar mitzvah. My son and my wife were somewhere, and I just banged out all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I had beer in the fridge, probably drank like 7, watched 10 episodes. It was probably 5 hours?
Yeah, each episode is between like 23 and 31 minutes.
It was 5 hours of joy is what it was.
Yeah,
and you agree.
100% agree. They did everything right, it felt like.
Yeah.
Every single thing that they could have messed up on, they avoided it. And everything that they could do right, they did it. From little tiny like hat tips in there to big gigantic ones. It was really, really well done.
What I realized, they did 2 really, really smart things. One was they flipped it and they made Johnny Lawrence sympathetic.
Mm-hmm.
This was a guy who was one of the iconic 80s villains. I certainly made my share of jokes about him in columns over the years. I talked about how, one joke I remember having was how after he graduated, he went to Duke.
Yeah.
Like he clearly was there. He used to lead captain of the lacrosse team. Basically the closest we've had to like an Aryan youth character that without actually embracing.
Okay.
Just all those, like he was that guy.
Right.
And they flipped it. And within 15 minutes of the first show, I'm rooting for Johnny Lawrence.
Yeah.
And then they have this key episode. I can't remember which it was a few down, and where he's telling the kid that he's training about this guy, Daniel LaRusso.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, this guy comes in, I just broken up with my girlfriend. This guy's hitting on her.
Yeah.
He starts a fight with me, and they're backing up with the footage for the movie. And I'm like, oh yeah, Daniel LaRusso is kind of an asshole. He deserved to get his ass kicked. Did that flip your opinion on Daniel LaRusso?
No, I'm still very pro LaRusso. He's just so charming.
Yeah.
He's too charming to not like.
Yeah.
Even when you rewatch the movie and you see like, hey, he's kind of talking to his mom like a dick right now. But he gives you that smile and that all shucks posture that he does, and he pulls you in. But yeah, the way that they turned Johnny Lawrence, who in the original Karate Kid is just as bad as a villain gets.
Evil.
As far as intimidating. Like, I don't know why he's so intimidating. It's a little bit of his voice. It's a little bit of his hair. It's like he's not super handsome, but just handsome enough to like sort of throw you off. And
it's always, somebody's evil when one of their henchmen, when they're kicking somebody's ass and somebody's like, that's enough, Johnny.
Yeah.
Like he hit that, other people telling him that's enough, they're evil at that point.
Uh-huh. And yeah, they just lean into him, how his life fell apart. And he's trying to put it together. I thought the scene for me that did it, that made me go like, okay, this show's going to be he's going to be great in this role, is when he's in the convenience store and the guy is like, he has a pizza.
Yeah.
He orders a pizza and he's like looking for a plate. And so he gets into an argument with the cashier.
Yeah.
But the cashier's speaking Spanish. And Miguel, who he eventually comes on the train, is like translating for him. And the guy says something in Spanish. And then he asks him, what did he say? And then the kid starts laughing and says, he said you have like a small whatever.
Yeah.
And then he goes like, he said I have a small wang. And then he just looks at him with those like Johnny Lawrence eyes, no smile or anything. He goes, tell me he has a tiny wang. And that's it. And I was like, yes, this is exactly what I'm looking for right here. He was so good.
They laid it out really early with an old action movie cliche of the guy waking up and there's the beer next to him.
Yeah.
On the bed, which he then decides to drink, even though it's like 9 a.m, which I think has been in maybe 38 to 40 movies over. It's like, this guy's not, his life's not going well. He's drinking a warm half beer.
That's how you know.
That's how he's waking up. Yeah. He did everything but light the cigarette. He didn't smoke.
You can always tell. It's either that or you could tell by how hard they turn their alarm clock off. It's
right.
Like,
they bang it, they throw
it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I know where you are in life. Yeah.
And then, so the other thing is Daniel LaRusso, a very successful car dealer guy now.
Absolutely
big
believable.
Billboards, believable.
Yeah,
I agree. Because you know why? Because Mr. Miyagi taught him how to be a winner.
Yeah, he's a charmer. That's what you need, that skill set to sell cars to people. And that was another part that really made me laugh. They show the first time you see him is on Billy's TV.
Yeah,
or on Johnny's TV. And it's a commercial, and it's just like a normal commercial. And then at the end, he like starts chopping the prices in half.
Yeah,
he's like, yeah, and it's like this is really fun.
There's a lot of really smart stuff in it, and it made me not like Ralph Macchio that much, but I still had the DNA of liking him from the 3 movies.
Yeah.
So it was like they could have ratcheted it up and made him more likable. They made his kids unlikable. I wasn't happy with the daughter. She's in a hit and run pretty early.
Yeah. I like
she's
the
working
daughter.
2 guys against each other.
I liked her. I didn't like the son. He kind of has just sort of a throwaway role.
Well, you don't have a daughter.
That's true.
You weren't judging her like a dad. I was judging it like, why are you playing these 2 guys against each other? That's not how I raised you.
Right.
Why are you showing up at the party with this new guy? Come on. But so that was great. What I realized though, as I'm watching it is, there's all this IP from the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And when they do the remakes, either they remake it and they modernize it, which has really not worked that often. Like they did like the Total Recall remake. It's like, why do we need this? Total Recall was good.
Right.
And then it's like, here's an inferior, terrible remake of a movie that you liked.
Mm-hmm.
Or like Amityville Horror. It's like, I liked Amityville Horror. I didn't need another Amityville Horror.
The Ryan Reynolds one?
Right.
Yeah.
So they do this, or they do like the Godfather 3 version of here are these characters later, and they try to make it a new movie and bring in all these crazy new characters. This was like, you like these movies in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
You know these characters.
Mm-hmm.
Here they are now.
Yeah.
And some things have changed, but ultimately, here they are. But also, we know what happened in the old movie. We're not hitting all the same beats. We're going to acknowledge the old movie.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to show footage from the old movie.
Great.
We're going to bring you back in. And it's like we just picked up where it left off.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that hasn't really worked that well, but I feel like they stumbled on something.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking like, what's next? What else can we do?
Yeah. I think the trick there is you want to, when you're remaking a thing, you want to not advance anything. Like that with the Total Recall thing, that's why it didn't work. Total Recall was already set in the future.
Yeah.
And now you just set it in a little further in the future.
It's like, now it's further in the future.
Or whatever. And you've got all this like super advanced stuff. With the Karate Kid one, they're just like, these are just the people. And that's all you need. And we're still Cobra Kai, and we're not changing the pieces. We're still using the same sort of music. Just, it felt old and new at the same time, which is always a tricky thing to be able to pull off.
So I don't want to say they invented it, because we've seen other people have done this, like the Brady Bunch movie. When I was living in Boston, it was after I was graduated college, and it was about 20 years after the Brady Bunch had been this iconic show of my childhood.
Right. And
they basically brought it back, but they had new actors playing all the same people. And part of why it worked was because they were making fun of, it was this very elaborate making fun of this show from the 70s with all the new characters. So that works. But I think Rocky, the 2006 movie, which I have conflicted feelings on when he came back, and
was that with Antonio Tarver?
Yeah.
Okay.
The fight scene's good. The love interest is not good.
Mm-mm.
There's things I would do differently with it. Ultimately, it was nice to have him back.
Yeah.
But then Creed, I think, is the best example of this.
Creed
Creed comes out before Cobra Kai.
Mm-hmm.
They take Rocky, who I already like, I have a history with, and now we've advanced his life, and now new things are happening.
Yeah.
And that's what they did with this.
Yeah. I think the other thing you need to do is you have to, when you're pulling in all the new people or reintroducing all the characters, you need for it to change just a little bit, just enough to make it feel more interesting. And that's what they did here when they turned, like, we're gonna make Ralph the bad guy this time, or Daniel the bad guy. We're gonna make Johnny the good guy. We're gonna get to see the new Johnny Lawrence, like his origin story with Miguel Diaz, which is always fun to watch. You have to do those sorts of things.
Yeah, the casting was good. I was glad they just didn't cast white people.
Yeah, of course.
They mixed it up.
Uh-huh.
They had all types, and they set up season 2 brilliantly.
Yeah,
got me excited for season 2.
All the tracks down perfect.
Should we give away the spoiler? Maybe. How many weeks is it? I don't want to spoil the last spoiler.
Yeah.
Let's not spoil that. But
okay,
I was super excited.
Oh yeah, how
I was
could
like,
you not
whoa!
be? Yeah,
it was like one of those.
Yeah.
I was also really surprised by how likable of an actor Billy Zabka was. Did not think he had that in him. Why hasn't that dude been acting?
I don't know. But yeah, that's like the Tiny Wang scene that I was talking about.
Because he's in a lot of scenes.
He does little things where you just laugh. And when I think his relationship with Miguel, for me was like the most touching part
I
of
agree.
it. They do that quick little trick where we find out he has a kid and the kid doesn't like him and he's really sort of going through it. And this is after Miguel's mom had pulled him away from Johnny. And so they do like a cut shot and they show him at the door explaining to someone like, this kid is the last, he's all that I have left. He's the only one that believes in me anymore. And you think it's the son. And then they swing it around and it's Miguel's mom. And you're like, let's fucking go.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do this.
Although he never slept with the mom, which I was upset about.
He didn't. No, he can't. That doesn't happen
Save that
until
for season 2.
That's season 3.
They could have had margaritas when they got drunk and something bad could have happened.
That'll definitely be season 3. But yeah, they do like there was that part. There was a part where when he goes and he gets the Cobra Kai reinstated back into the tournament, and then they're paralleling that with Miguel out on a date, and then they meet back up at the dojo. And he's like, did you do your thing? I did my... Yeah, and they just start celebrating together. Yeah. And I was like, yes, this is so great.
And they have some good homages. Like he goes on the date and they play the same music that the Daniel San played when he was with Allie.
Yeah.
I love the part when they got drunk at the bar together and they go look up Allie on Facebook and she's married and she lives in Denver. It's really clever.
Yeah.
Right? You would have wanted more episodes. I thought I would have settled for 8. I thought 10 was too many, but you would have gone for like 15.
I would have gone like Office style. Give me 22 episodes. And it would have been great. I would have liked to see them stretch it out just a little bit more.
They also had the good training scene that they basically just copied from the movie with that music, the really good Karate Kid music, that
Yeah.
and they're on the canoe with like it's twilight and they're doing like the poses. So they did that part. So they played some of the hits, but they did it in a way that didn't feel over the top.
Yeah.
I was really impressed, and it made me think like, what else is out there? I'd always, going back to my column 15 years ago, I'd always joked about a movie where Drago and Clubber Lang fight.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just basically like Rocky ruined our careers, but now we're both on the comeback trail and Rocky's retired and there's this arc headed toward, now those guys are too old, but I would still kind of like to catch up with Ivan Drago.
Drago versus Clubber, that movie is 9 minutes long.
Yeah.
And Drago
it might just be a trailer.
Destroys him.
Really? You have Drago as the favorite?
Oh, 100%.
I think Drago's PD use. I think it's like an Andrew Galata thing. I think he has a very short run.
Rocky's when his second fight with Clubber, when he's like at peak Rocky form, which was not the best version of Rocky. Rocky and Rocky 4 is the best version of Rocky. Rocky and Rocky 3
is incredible shape. He's like a welterweight in Rocky.
Yeah.
Rocky
he's a
4.
big guy.
He's like 160 pounds of just cut muscle.
Yeah, but in Rocky 3, that fight only goes like 2 or 3 rounds, and then it's over.
That's a flaw in Rocky 3 that Clubber is that tired after 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Rocky's like, look at him, he can't breathe. And Clubber's like, see, I've had this argument many times. I think Rocky 3 is the best Rocky movie, but I like Rocky 4 the most.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement.
I think Rocky 4 is the most entertaining. I think Rocky 3 start to finish is actually just a really good movie. It's really
like
smart.
A genuinely good movie.
It's really well written. It's got twists and turns. Clubber Lang is incredible. Thunderlips is incredible. It's the best Paulie. Adrian looks like genuinely good in that movie.
It's the only Rocky movie where they touch on race at all.
Yeah, Paulie gets a little racist in Rocky 3. Yeah, they the basic cable they might have to edit a couple of those lines out. But it's got the unbelievable ending of the what if ending when they have the third fight, and we'll never know.
And that's another example what they do with Creed, where they like jump back to a thing and show you something that you didn't get to see before, and they like clear it up. They do that in.
So what else is out there for you? Because we both agree this works. We both recommend Cobra Kai. What do you want? What do you want from the 80s or 90s? Like, they're making Top Gun 2, which worries me, but at the same time, Cobra Kai has now opened my eyes to if Top Gun 2 is done correctly.
Top Gun 2 can work. It's just planes.
Fat Val Kilmer.
Planes haven't changed that much.
Planes haven't changed.
Put him in charge of flight school.
Cruise with my fear is like Cruise with like badly dyed hair, pretending he's not 58 years old anymore.
Right.
Trying to still be Maverick and having some girl that's too young for him. And that's where it could go wrong. But on the other hand, if he's in the Tom Skerritt role, what was his character in Top Gun? Tom Skerritt?
Oh,
the guy who's the father figure.
Yeah.
If he's in that role for somebody who's the new Maverick, I think that could work. I don't know.
You gotta.
I guarantee he's not with Kelly McGillis.
Switch it enough. No.
She's out.
Give me. We do need. I would like to see Top Gun. I would like to see new Bloodsport. If we're gonna make a TV series out of a movie, Bloodsport has all the parts you need.
So you, me, and our old Grantland colleague and friend Ray Bartholomew are the three people who love Bloodsport the most of all people, including Jean-Claude Van Damme and everyone else, and maybe my son because I think I've gotten him into it enough.
Yeah.
The original Bloodsport came out 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the best 10 premises ever for an action movie.
Absolutely.
It's incredible. He goes to this secret tournament. What is it, Thailand? Somewhere. It's like a Thailand type.
Yeah.
We don't really know. But he's also, the Americans don't want him to fight. So he's kind of on the run for the Americans. And then this crazy, I don't even know how they came up with it. The fight thing where it's like, it's a little bit hilled.
The mat.
The mat is like, it goes up. So you have a chance to do these running crazy kicks. And basically you're allowed to kill somebody. And Chong Li, who's a menace and who's the most steroid guy that's ever existed, somehow goes too far in a tournament where you're allowed to kill somebody and everybody turns their back on him.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that was too far.
He killed him the wrong way.
You killed him. You shouldn't have broken his neck after he gave up. Come on, Chong Li.
Yeah.
But that is start to finish great. And I'm with you. Why isn't that a series?
Any movie that has a tournament in it is automatically like at least 40% good.
You can't lose.
Yeah.
It's because the last 25 minutes, he's just working to the last 25.
You know what you're getting.
I'm with you on Bloodsport. Sadly, RIP, pour out a 40 for Patrick Swayze, but Roadhouse 30 years later, where he's now the Sam Elliott character.
What happened with the Roadhouse remake that they were doing? Weren't they talking about doing it with Ronda Rousey a couple years ago?
I think the problem was Ronda Rousey was in it.
Ronda Rousey's good.
She can't act, though.
Probably not, but she could fight.
Her Fast and Furious scenes. Oh, we should mention Justin Lin locked in for Fast and Furious 9.
Is he?
Yeah.
Let's go.
They just announced that 2 days ago.
Fast and Furious 9.
He did the best too.
Yeah.
What are your favorite? I forget.
First place is the first one for me.
Well, because that's the most realistic of. The last one, I'm almost ready to do a podcast with you about the last one. It's got a lot of holes.
I love the last one.
I still don't understand the missile underneath the water tracking the people on cars on ice going 200 miles an hour and what happened to everybody.
You got to just not ask any questions.
You can't ask any questions for the last two.
The further into the series you get, the less amount of questions you can ask.
I still think them driving a car through 2 skyscrapers is the most unrealistic moment in the movie, but you could also talk me into parachuting onto
the mountain,
but also going full speed and dropping the parachute.
I still, when I watch,
you can even do that in Fortnite.
When I watch them jumping from building to building, I still like lean back in my seat.
Yeah,
like,
it's harrowing. It's harrowing. When does the Rock skyscraper movie come out? And are we seeing it together?
It comes out this summer.
I'm excited for that.
July, I think. I think in July. But yeah, that's gonna be good.
So going backwards, Speed.
No, I don't. That doesn't work as a TV. We're talking about movie to TV series, right?
Either
we're doing.
Oh, you want movie to TV?
Yeah, I like a series.
It would take us 5 minutes to make Speed a TV series.
Yeah, exactly.
Keanu Reeves is still a bomb guy. And now there's a guy they can't catch, and it's like 24 basically. It's what if it's 10 hours of real time?
You got to go catch him. I don't think Speed works as a TV show.
I think the biggest mistake 24 made was not coming back as a binge watch show on Netflix.
Yeah.
Where it's like, here's 13 episodes of 24. It's 13 hours and bang through it.
Yeah.
Speed could work for that though.
Speed could, I don't know.
What if it's, I'm trying to think, somebody you love. Give me like your 3 favorite actors that you feel like aren't getting enough due right now.
Current actors or old actors?
Either.
Give me
name all 3 famous Mexican actors right now.
I want we don't have 3.
Name 2.
They're like 3 Latino actors.
Who are your 3 Latino actors?
Give me John Leguizamo. I want a John Leguizamo.
How about John Leguizamo as the Dennis Hopper terrorist torturing Keanu Reeves?
He could be the bad guy, but I think he works better as a good guy, as like a sympathetic good guy.
What about 11 Latino actors who turn on Hollywood and start terrorizing Hollywood because there's not enough parts?
That would
and
work.
Only Keanu Reeves could stop them.
But if you have
all of them would get hired.
11 of them,
Jimmy Smith would be able to come back.
We have to CGI 4 of them because we only have 7. John
Younger.
Leguizamo's got to play 3 parts.
It'd be Jimmy Smiths with CGI technology so they could use LA Law Jimmy Smiths and what was the Running Scared Jimmy Smiths?
Like when they did it with the new Terminator with Arnold. They brought back the new old Terminator.
Where do you stand on Running Scared?
The Paul Newman one? The Paul Walker one?
The Billy Crystal Gregory Hines one.
I've never seen that one.
Oh.
Wait,
yeah.
That's the one they remade with Paul Walker?
No, that's just same title, totally different movie. This one was
I do like that one.
A buddy cop movie with Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines.
Really?
That has Jimmy Smits as the bad guy. It has Joe Pantoliano in one of his key 80s.
I love Joe. He's a great character actor,
I guarantee you will like this movie. And has an essential 80s Michael McDonald song in it.
Okay.
Yeah, really great.
All right.
It's really, I don't understand why they didn't make 5 Running Scareds. And I know the 3 people still listening to this podcast agree with me right now. At least one of them are like, oh, I'm so glad someone brought this up. So what's your pecking order for movies you would make?
Give me Bloodsport first place.
So you go 10 episodes of Bloodsport in Thailand?
10 episodes of Bloodsport. Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. We got a guy who has to go fight in a tournament. And
Roadhouse we can't do because really nobody's left from that movie now. Swayze killed everybody and then he died in real life. I don't know how they do that one.
He's out. You can't do Roadhouse, but you could probably do... I think it would be cool to do just one of the guys.
Oh, wow.
Right?
That movie has not aged well. My daughter was like, what's going on with this movie?
Yeah.
She can't write for her school paper? I don't understand, Dad.
You get to...
Because she's a girl, she can't write for the school paper? What?
You have to redo some parts of it, but I feel like right now would be a good time to remake that one.
Those crossover movies where nobody in the new high school can figure out that it's actually a girl and there's no real reason for them to be doing it, but they commit to it anyway. It's like, I'm going to spend 3 months dressed like a boy to prove some point to my newspaper editor.
Yeah.
It's a little flawed. What about Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield? I feel like that would work as a TV show.
I think that one could probably work too. Although they basically just remade that as the movie with the Melissa McCarthy movie, Life of the Party.
So my daughter came home from that Melissa McCarthy movie and told me the plot. And I was like, this is Back to School. She had no idea what that meant.
Yeah.
So
did you go
didn't
see
they
it?
make that? Yeah, she liked it.
It's good.
Didn't they also do that with Cedric the Entertainer? Didn't they remake Back to School with him too?
I didn't see that
Are
one.
we just out of ideas?
Yeah, I think so.
They're making The Purge a TV series.
That works.
That'll work.
Yeah. What you need for a good TV series, and the reason, another reason Cobra Kai works, is you need to build up to a thing that could be like, this is the end of it.
Yes.
When we got to the end of the tournament, like
you knew the tournament was coming.
That's how it has to end, at the end of the tournament. And then now we're going to set up next season as another tournament. Same thing. So that's why like Friday Night Lights works so well.
Right.
We're getting to the playoffs, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to win state.
Bank robberies would work. We both saw, what was that last bank robbery movie that came out? I texted you that we had to talk about it.
Den of Thieves.
Good start, solid ending, very tough hour plus in between. Gerard Butler was, as Chris Ryan said, Gerard Butler was going for it.
Gerard Butler is like the best, worst, bad, good actor in any movie I've ever seen.
He is completely over the top. It's enjoyable. I think he thinks he's doing way better than we do. But I still like it.
Yeah. That to me seemed like he didn't do any actual research on anything. He was in his house like, what would a cool mean guy do? Ooh, I'm gonna wear a ring and an affliction t-shirt. Like, what are you doing?
I'm gonna act like I'm hungover.
Yeah. I'm
gonna get girls.
I'm gonna say a cool thing.
I'm gonna stare at people.
I was really surprised by how much I liked Den of Thieves. I was expecting to go into
know why?
Not liking it. Why?
Because you're the only person I know who loves bank robbery movies more than I do.
I do love a good bank robbery movie. Sometimes they don't work though. And I saw the cast and I was like, Gerard Butler, nah. 50 Cent, nah. I don't know these other guys.
Here's my counter on 50 Cent. Are we sure he's not a really good actor?
No, that's what I was gonna.
I really like 50 Cent as an actor.
He was great in Den of Thieves. Like,
yeah.
He was the best guy in Den of
Super duper
Thieves.
likable, and I was rooting for him, even though he was a bank robber who was just killing multiple people.
Yeah, the prom date scene when he takes the kid into the garage, and he's like, I worked on this because I wanted to say it as nice as possible while he's threatening his life. Like, it was a really great scene. He dies great in the movie.
Yeah, if you told me in 2001, whenever he had his iconic album,
Get rich or die trying.
50 Cent's going to be alive in 2018, I'd be like, no way. That guy, there's 0% chance. He'd already been shot, like, what, 10 times?
You get shot before you get famous, though.
But I just would assume that was it.
Okay.
2, 50 Cent is not going to sing anymore or perform or anything. He's going to be an actor on weird pay-per-view movies. I would have been like, no way. And then 3, he's going to date Chelsea Handler. And I've been like, I don't know who that is, but no way.
There's no chance. It was really good.
Yeah, he was really good. So we recommend Den of Thieves, but we both like bank robbery movies.
Yeah, 100%.
We talked about this on a Rewatchables pod. We talked about what roles we would have in a bank robbery.
Right.
And I said I would absolutely want to be the driver. And I actually kind of want to be a bank robbery driver. It's like, if that's my next career plan, if the ringer falls apart,
right?
That's plan B for me.
That's what it is?
Yeah, I'm a bank robbery driver.
Okay.
LA is the most bank robberies in every city. I'll be the driver.
You
said you want to be the guy who jumps on the counter and shoots the gun into the ceiling and says, everybody get down or else. And that's who you want to be, right? You might hit the guard.
That's not me.
Oh, what did you say? I can't remember.
That's my wife.
Oh, that's your wife. That's right.
She was that role.
That's your wife. Who are you?
I'm the guy who dies early. Like, I made a mistake, or I didn't have it in me to shoot.
You dated Trejo?
Yeah, I didn't have it in me to shoot somebody, and I got.
Ew.
That's me. I'm never. Every time I watch those movies, and I think that's part of the reason I like them so much, is I get to pretend, at least for a few minutes, like I want to be cool, like Pablo in Den of Thieves, like Merriman, who's supposed to be the main boss. He was so great. Didn't say much. He just sort of stood there. He stretched it. His already a long neck. He sort of stretched it out further to look down on everyone. Like, I want to be like that. But I know in my heart of hearts, like, that's not me. You know who I am? I'm in Godfather. Remember Enzo the baker?
Yeah.
He shows up to, like, pay his wishes.
You're terrified?
And then Michael pulls him in, like, hey, stand here with me. And so he does it, but he's terrified the whole time. That's me, I think. You can talk me into it, but I'm not going to be any good.
Are we nearing 25th anniversary, Terry, for Blood In, Blood Out yet? Isn't it 1993?
Yes, 1993.
A movie that's not on cable anymore. Your favorite movie?
The 30th anniversary. Yeah, it's
no, 25th anniversary.
25th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They won't show it. They'll show everything. They'll show Cocktail 20 times a day. By the way, Cocktail's another one that could come back.
Cocktail could work.
Cruz is living in a resort in Jamaica that he owns. Mm-hmm. His wife left him. He's a bartender.
Yeah, you could go a bunch of different ways.
Son's working with him.
You remember that one HBO what was his name?
I remember all the HBO shows.
He was like the lovable bachelor, Larry, the lovable bachelor, or some guy like that. He was like a nerdy looking guy, and the whole show was
Mind of the Married Man?
No, it wasn't that one, I don't think.
Dream On?
Might have been Dream On, I don't know.
It
was out when I was like in middle school or high school.
Dream On.
All I remember from the show is that there was like always a sex scene in every episode.
Well, HBO knew their audience at that point. They would have that, First and 10, The Hitchhiker.
First and 10.
The Hitchhiker was another one. It was like, you get in a sex scene during the show at some point because we know you guys don't have internet porn yet.
Yeah.
Now they don't need to do that. Back then, it was like The Hitchhiker that was internet porn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't remember how we got on this subject.
I don't either.
Shay, you have anything to plug?
No, I don't have anything to plug. ReadTheRinger.com. And that's all.
That's it?
That's it. And watch Den of Thieves and Cobra Kai. Shout out Miguel Diaz forever.
Kawhi Leonard?
The number one.
Give a message for Kawhi Leonard, who didn't come to any of your playoff games, but went to a Dodger game 2 weeks later.
No, I have no more words for Kawhi Leonard. Not one single word.
Have you ever been this betrayed by anyone?
My 9th grade girlfriend cheated on me, and I never forget it.
Yeah.
She cheated on me with a guy at the zoo. How do you cheat on me with a guy at the zoo?
Zookeeper? No,
she went to the zoo with the guy. She went there with the guy to cheat at the zoo, which...
This sounds like this could be a YouTube Red series. 25 years later.
I looked her up
Things have flipped.
I looked her up on Facebook, and her life was just in shambles, and I was so happy. I was so excited about it.
Well, now she knows.
She broke my heart.
So that was it. That's the only person.
So it's her and then Kawhi Leonard.
Nobody at
He's
the
cheating
Grantland or
on
the Ringer?
me with somebody at the zoo.
Nobody Tate Frazier?
Tate Frazier is number 6 on my list. Kevin O'Connor's number 23 on my list.
Kevin O'Connor is another one. All right, Shea, thanks for coming on. I'm glad we did this. Thanks to my dad. Thanks to the Boston Celtics for making me happy this week. Thanks to ZipRecruiter. Don't forget to check them out, ZipRecruiter.com/BS. Thanks to nephew Kyle. We are back on Friday with a little bit more. Don't forget to buy Shea's book, by the way, for Father's Day for somebody. Oh, yeah. What's that, a month away?
That's what I should have said.
Yeah.
Buy the book.
Buy the book for Father's Day. What a Father's Day gift. Barack Obama liked it.
Barack Obama
made it top. And don't forget to listen to Shea on House of Carbs, too, because it's funny. We'll be back on Friday. Go Celtics.